Hi students, welcome back. This is Plus 2 Computer Science Unit 3, Chapter 10, Python Classes and Objects. Before getting into the video, please do subscribe. So Python classes and objects, in this lesson you're going to learn about defining classes, creating objects, accessing class members, constructor and destructor in Python, and finally public and private data members in Python. So let's start with an introduction. Python is an object-oriented programming language. Classes and objects are the key features of object-oriented programming language, that is OOPS concept. So you have learned classes and objects in C++. It is similar to C++. The classes and objects of Python is also similar to C++, but creation and implementation of classes and objects is very simple in Python. Compared to C++, here it is very simple. So now let us see what is class. Class is the main building block in Python. And object is a collection of data and function that act on those data. So in simple words, class is a template for the object. And objects are instance of class, or you can say it as class variables. Now let's see how to define a class. In Python, a class is defined by using the keyword class. And every class has a unique name followed by a colon. So you have to end up with this colon. Look at the syntax. We should use the keyword class, and you can give any name to the class and you have to end up with colon. Creating objects. Once a class is created, next you should create an object or instance of that class. The process of creating object is called as class instantiation. So let's see how to create your object. Look at the syntax. Object name. You have to specify any name and then you have to mention the class name. So object name equal to class name, end up with this parenthesis. Accessing class members. Yes, we do have two members in class, that is class variables and class functions. We do have another name for function, that is method, class method. So after completing the class block, you have to access the class members. To access the class members, we do have a procedure. Any class member, it can be a class variable or method. Method means function. It can be a variable or it can be a function. To access this, we have to use object with a dot operator. So look at the syntax. You have to mention the object name, dot, and then class member. Class member, it can be a variable or it can be a function. Class method. Class method must have the first argument named as self. So while creating the function or method, you can give any name to your function, but inside parenthesis we have to write this keyword self, and this will be the first argument. Even if there is no value to pass, we have to write this self as first argument. And if there is any arguments to pass, we have to write that as the second argument, because the first argument will be self and the second argument you can give any name. So overall we will see a program using Python online editor. Now look at this program. The very first line, we have created the class. Keyword class is used and then we have class name as odd underscore even. We should end up with colon. So inside class, the immediate line, you can add the class variables. So this is the way to add the variables. So one or two variables you can add immediately. And then let us see class method. So method means it is function. Function should be defined with the keyword def, and the name of the function is check. We do have parameters. We have two parameters here inside parenthesis. One is self. We have to write this for all the function, that especially when it is used inside class. And then we have another function named num. Then keep colon and press enter. Immediately you will get this tab space in front of the next line. So here we do have a if statement. if num modulus 2 is equal to 0. We are checking for the condition when we divide a number by 2, and if the remainder is 0, the condition is true, then if statement will be executed. So here we are just checking for even number. If this condition is not satisfied, definitely it will be odd number. So we have to move on to the else block. So else block will be executed. So this is all about the class block. We have a block, we have class variable, we have class method. So everything is given with the space. So this is what class block. And out of the class we have to create the object. So object is n, and we have to specify to which class we have created. So equal to odd underscore even and open and close parenthesis. This is the way to introduce the object. So n is the object. Whatever object you want to introduce, just write the name of the object and you have to specify to which class you are creating object. So you have to write equal to the class name and end up with parenthesis. So the class is created and the object is also created. Now the next line is the input statement. Here we receive the value from the user and the data is actually stored in the variable x. It is outside of the class block. And to access the member of the class, we have to use dot operator along with the object name. So object is n and we have used dot operator. Then we have specified the class method, that is check. Look at this. We have class method and we have passed the parameter as x. So whatever value is received from the user is passed as the argument to the class method. So now let us run this program. Immediately it will ask for enter a value. Simply give a number and press enter. So it is saying 45 is an odd number. So according to the input it works. If the number is not satisfying this condition, else block will be executed, and if the condition is satisfied, if block will be executed. And now let us learn what is constructor and destructor. So constructor is a special function that is automatically executed when an object of the class is created. So again, this is very similar to the C++ concept. Constructor will be executed as you create the object in the class program. So this is the way to mention the constructor in Python. We have to write double underscore, then init, end up with double underscore and open and close parenthesis. This is the way to create the constructor block in Python. We have to begin with double underscore and we have to end up with double underscore. So constructor can be defined with or without arguments, and this method is specially used to initialize the class variables. So you have learned what is constructor. It is a special function used to initialize the class variables. So what will be destructor? It will be the opposite of constructor. Yes. So destructor is also a special method, gets executed automatically when an object exits from the scope. So the exact meaning of this object exit from the scope means when the program is completely done. So after the execution, the variables and its values will be freed. So this is the way to create destructor. We have to start with the double underscore, then del, then end up with the double underscore and open and close parenthesis. This is what destructor method. So constructor will allocate the memory and it will give initial values for all the variables. Destructor will erase all the values and it will free up the memory space. To open Python ideally, select Start, select all programs and then select Python 3.7. In that you have to select Python ideally. So here we do get Python interactive mode. To get the script mode, we have to select File, New. So immediately you will get this script mode where you can type the programs and you can run. Now look at the class program. We have constructor and destructor in this program. Class name is sample. We have to write the class name, end up with colon. And the next line is variable. class variable. Then we do have constructor block. And we do have the definition for constructor block. We have few statements under constructor block. And immediately we do have destructor block. And we have two statements under destructor block. So this program is with constructor block and destructor block. You can see the block and it is given with tab space. You have to mention the space correctly. And out of the class block we have object yes1 equal to sample of 15. Then we have second object, similarly third object. So the objects are S1, S2 and S3. S1 value is 15. So that 15 comes to this where and here it prints the number. And similarly num equal to 0 we have given, that is incremented in constructor block and it is displayed in this print statement. The value is displayed in print statement. So here we do have three objects and all the object has its value. So when the object is created, constructor block will be executed, but for destructor we have to specify this line. We have to invoke this destructor block object dot double underscore del double underscore open and close parenthesis. This is the way to call the destructor block. Okay, now let's run the program. We have to select run menu and run module option. Look at the output. We do have all the constructor statements and at the bottom we do have destructor statements. So here we do have three objects. So constructor block is executed for 3 times. Class variable, that is num, is incremented each time. So 3 constructors are there. So it is incremented 3 times. So it is initialized by 0 and as it executes we do have the incremented value. Destructor block is executed. Here 3 times it is executed for 3 different objects. Now let's see what happens if these 3 lines are not available in the program. Let's delete that and let's run the program. We have to save it. And now look at the output. Only the constructor block is executed. So destructor block, if you want to execute the destructor block, we have to add those 3 lines. We have to invoke the destructor block just by giving the name of the object and dot symbol, then double underscore del double underscore open and close parenthesis. This is the way to call the destructor block. Now let's run the program once again. Save the program here. Okay, now look at this. We have invoked one destructor, so it is executed once. And finally, public and private data member. So data member, what is called data member? Variables. Variables are data member of class. So here you can declare a data member as public or you can declare it as private. In C++ you have learnt public, private and protected visibility mode. Here also we do have public and private. Let's see how to declare. The variables which are defined inside the class is public by default. In C++ the default visibility mode is private. And in Python, the default visibility mode is public. These variables can be accessed anywhere in the program using dot operator. So within class, if you're going to access, we have to use the class name, dot operator, and then the data member name. Outside the class, we have to use object, dot operator, and then data member name. A variable prefixed with double underscore becomes private in nature. So here we are not going to mention private keyword. We are going to use double underscore in front of the variable. So as you declare the variable, you have to mention double underscore, then it becomes private. And these variables can be accessed only within the class, not outside of the class. Now look at this example. Here we do have 2 parameters, that is n1 and n2. So n1 is public and n2 is private. So while assigning values for all the arguments, we have to use self dot n1 is equal to n1. This is the way to assign the value. So n1 will be assigned from the object, that is 12. And n2 is private and the value for n2 is 14. Why it is private? It is declared with double underscore. So try all the programs given in this lesson. That's all for today. Thank you.